What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. We're back for another match preview, and Marcel, we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the Carabao Cup, and it's the quarter-final tie, a home tie against Charlton Athletic. A pretty good tie. It's tomorrow, 8 o'clock kickoff at Old Trafford as well. How are you feeling about this one heading into it? Are you getting giddy thinking about a cup run?
Of course. I can't help it, man. Charlton Athletic. I think that's a side that you can maybe look past a little bit, but it's important to get the job done. And maybe a rotation of squad. I mean, it's exciting to maybe see who else can produce performances for us. We haven't seen a lot of the likes of Scott McTominay. Can he come in and do a job for us and perform? I haven't seen him. Casemiro's displaced him for a little while now. Charlton Athletic, I think, are a team that I've been playing all right recently. I think they're in a kind of decent winning form of late in the league. So they've got winning habits, but we've been fantastic. And games at home is always exciting. I'm going to be there at the game, and I'm excited to just be there in front of the Old Trafford faithful again.
I mean, look, you can't dress it up. It's the best draw that we could have got. I mean, they're literally slap bang in the middle of League One. The fact that they've got to the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup is a massive achievement for them, certainly. Their recent form in the league, a couple of wins, a couple of losses, a draw. So this will be the biggest game of their season, certainly. Look, coming to Old Trafford. And I don't know about you, Marcel. Let's get into the team news, actually. Expect quite a lot of rotation, let's be honest, because not just out of disrespect to the opposition, but also because we've got a lot of games coming up. I think in an ideal world, Ten Hag would play his strongest team, because then you get into a semi-final, then you get into the real business end stages of this competition, and it becomes a real possibility that you could win a trophy. I mean, I always say that the Carabao Cup's a strange competition because it does feel like it only is really taken seriously once you get to like the semi-final, something like that. Then it's a case of, actually, a Wembley trip is only one game away or a couple of games away, because I think it's played over 2 legs, semi-final still. Either way, in terms of team news, what are we saying for who's going to start in goal? Because, look, De Gea hasn't played Carabao Cup games this season. Before that, it was Dubravka. He's gone. He's back at Newcastle now. Are we thinking that maybe Jack Butland could make his United debut, or do you think Tom Heaton could be between the sticks?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I would have assumed. I think I've read something or seen. I'm pretty sure I saw David De Gea just saying, "Listen, I'm ready to play all the games," or something to that effect. That he's available, and that is obviously different in terms of rotation for the outfield players, but for himself, he's making sure that he's always ready to play for the club. So I would have assumed that it would be David De Gea. Obviously, the likes of Jack Butland and Tom Heaton are nowhere near the ability level of De Gea, and you want to just make sure you've got that good defensive unit, but we have been rotating. You're right. We have been rotating in certain cup competitions. It has been Dubravka, so maybe more the same. Would be good to see Tom Heaton then. Last season, I think it was the Champions League against Young Boys. I think Tom Heaton played very well in that game. Very good commanding goalkeeper. So maybe you put him in. Butland's obviously just come into the side. I would have, would like to see his level, but I think Heaton then potentially if you're going to rotate. But I would assume David De Gea.
Interesting. I don't think it will be De Gea. I think it might be Butland. Although, yeah, it might be Butland. Well, I mean, again, we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think De Gea will start though, because he just hasn't started in the Carabao Cup so far. I do think once we start getting to like semi-final or possibly a final stage, if we do get there, I think De Gea plays those games 1,000,000%, because then the trophy really is within the club's reach, and they're so desperate for one because they haven't won a trophy, 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe even longer now. So I think once we get to those real latter stages, I think De Gea will play. Back four, this is an interesting one, because right back now, you would think it would probably be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Diogo Dalot's just come back in, but we do have City at the weekend. So Eric Ten Hag is going to be thinking of that in his mind about Dalot's just come back from a hamstring injury, and we want to have our players fresh for a really big Manchester derby at Old Trafford. It's a 12:30 kickoff as well on Saturday. So, there's not a lot of time between now and then. Who do you think starts at right back? Do you think he goes with Wan-Bissaka, or do you think he tries to get more minutes under Dalot's bout?
It's a good point. I mean, I think Dalot does need more minutes for that big game. And I think he starts for that big game. So you maybe see a Wan-Bissaka for 70, 80 minutes, and then, Dalot comes in for the last 10 or so just to get used to the match tempo and the pace. But this has got to be, and no disrespect to Wan-Bissaka, this has got to be his level in a sense that, these players that he's playing against shouldn't be able to be superior to him. And it's a test to that, I think, a little bit. He hasn't been brilliant throughout the season. He's come on strong with the last couple of games and been really good for us. But you need to can you continue that form? Can you be reliable? I think players and the manager in particular has been talking about reliability. Can you be reliable in this fixture and perform another, deliver a good performance again?
Yeah, I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka. I think the centre backs. You would probably think, look, there's been speculation on his future recently that was debunked. So you would probably think it'll be Maguire and Lindelof once again, and then possibly Malacia maybe at left back once more. Probably that'll be the back four. You would probably think. I think that will probably be the options that you'd go with.
Yeah, Malacia or Brandon Williams. I'm still thinking
Yeah.
I'm still thinking Brandon Williams is in and around the squad in that sense. Especially with just the heavy weight of fixtures like we alluded to before. You have to maybe rotate it so Brandon Williams can be in around it just in case there's a situation where you have to have Shaw in the centre back's position or whatever against City. I don't know, because obviously Martinez hasn't had much minutes yet, so you might start Martinez this game. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at maybe Brandon Williams being in some way involved, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, and again, you don't want to be disrespectful to Charlton here, but even because you can already hear sort of the comments or the outcry, can't you? Go, oh, what? Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Brandon Williams, Lindelof. But with all due respect to Charlton, they are in the mid-table of League One. Like that back four should, in theory, be good enough to beat Charlton at home at Old Trafford for Manchester United. Now, I know football doesn't work like that, and anything's certainly possible, but it should be good enough. In front of them, midfield. Do we see the return of McFred? Do you think?
Yeah. And almost rightly so. I think it needs to be fresh against Man City. They're going to be very, very clever businessmen, and especially at Old Trafford as well. They're going to want to cause an upset. So you need to keep fresh, maybe one or two, or even if it's a half. You give Casemiro maybe 45 minutes. Or 60 minutes or something, and let him dictate and get us comfortable into the game with partner him with Fred or Scott, and you need to rotate that. I want to see Zidane though. I really want to see Zidane come into the fray. So there's a question there. Savage as well has been brilliant in a couple of the preseason friendlies and the preseason games that he's played. So, but Zidane really's come on strong. So I would like, this is a real good opportunity. I think we've got Reading at the end of the month as well. Another really good opportunity to see someone like Zidane get into this side.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we thought, and we're going through this team selection going, oh, there's going to be this rotation, there might be that rotation. We kind of expected that against Burnley in the Carabao Cup, and it didn't happen. Like, he didn't really rotate that much. He played a really strong side. Yeah, exactly. And he played a really strong side. I think he may have, Ten Hag, he may have had an intention to play a fairly strong side. Maybe that has changed with the news that this time next week, we're going to be playing Crystal Palace now as well. So we're going back to a game every 3 days. It might be him thinking, you know what, I did want to play a fairly strong side because I am taking this competition seriously. It's a really good opportunity for us to win silverware. If I can win a trophy in my first season, that's massive. For Ten Hag on a personal level, it's massive for United because I haven't won a trophy in a while. But at the same time, you do have City at the weekend. You do have Palace in midweek. You do then have Arsenal. And you might just think, look, this is just, I've got to rotate here. I've got to rotate more than I would like to. And I've got to hope that they can get the job done. They should get the job done, but it's just not, maybe it's just not the right time to play that really, really strong side against a mid-table League One side. Because again, we've got so many games up on the horizon that when you have the opportunity to effectively rotate, you might have to do it here. But again, this is Ten Hag. He has made 4 changes in his last couple of games, and even that's a lot for him. So I don't know. It's going to be a fascinating team to see who he does select. So midfield, I reckon I could see Fred and McTominay playing. Again, I know people will be like, oh, no, McTominay and Fred, they're not good enough. But they should be. they should be. You never know. They should be, though, to beat Charlton at home. But I agree. I could see maybe a Casemiro playing 45 minutes. And look, if we're 2-0 up, 3-0 up at half time, then you might just go, well, okay, that's Casemiro's job done. Take him off. And it could be as simple as that. I wouldn't be shocked if McTominay and Fred played. In front of them, what do we think? You would have thought Donny van der Beek would have played in this game. Yeah. Now he's injured. So does that mean really Ten Hag's got no choice but to play a Bruno Fernandes?
He's a very durable footballer. If there's one thing I credit Bruno for, and I credit him for many things, but very durable. And I think, if there's and his character, I think he would be one to say, yep, I'm ready to play, to serve the club again. So you maybe put Bruno on for maybe 50, 45 minutes as well, and I think he tried to keep the spine as much as possible. That's why I was saying David De Gea, but you're right. I think maybe, Heat and Allbutt then comes in, try and rotate it as much as possible in the back line, keep one or two strong key players in the side, like a Bruno, like a Casemiro, potentially, and then rotate accordingly in the forward line as well. But who else do you look? You can't look past him. Kobe, Zidane, these are massive risks in terms of their ability. They're not really ready yet, very young footballers, but the squad's so thin now. I was saying it before, on our transfer views earlier this season, at the beginning of the month, we're going to suffer if we don't get players in. If we don't get footballers in, we're going to suffer. And Ten Hag's fighting on all fronts, and it looks like he doesn't want to lose any football matches. It doesn't care who it is, when it is. He will play his strongest side for sure. And that's just what it is. I think it's detrimental if you're asking my opinion on it, and I think he has to rotate heavily for this fixture. But because it's at home, I believe we still win it, and it has to be Bruno Fernandes, I think, in the 10.
I think it'll be Bruno. I think it'll be Bruno purely because there's no real other option, and also it is important to have those elite players still in the team. Because in an ideal scenario, again, this game would be over by about half time. You'd be 2-0 up or whatever, and then you can really start to make some changes. And Bruno, to your point, I think Bruno would want to be involved. Every time Bruno doesn't play, you get the impression he's annoyed he hasn't. So I would suspect that Bruno probably does play. Left and right-hand side, what were you thinking? Left-hand side, would you maybe say Garnacho? Maybe the right, you'd say maybe Alanga, something like that? Or does Anthony, do you still try and play him into form by playing just Anthony in this game?
I thought you meant Tony Marshall, but no, you're right. The Santos. No, you're right. The Santos plays. I think you keep Tony Marshall away from this fixture completely, and you somehow figure out who can play where in terms of the Alanga Garnacho.
Plays up front.
Yeah.
Plays up front.
You just toss a coin, and whoever says heads gets the forward line, whoever says tails or whatever it is, because they all seem like makeshift, or they're not focal point nines. They're all wingers, and it's whoever wants it the most to play up I think Alanga, because I think he's done a similar job for Sweden. I'm not sure, but you maybe play him there, and then either side. And I don't think you even get a chance to rotate that forward line. You really want to keep Rashford fresh as possible, or you put him in if we're struggling and we're suffering 30 minutes towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I think it might be Garnacho on the left, Brazilian Anthony on the right. Then it might be Alanga up front. I think he might go with something like that. Just because, again, Martial, I don't think should be anywhere near the game. I agree with you, because just no, you don't take that risk with the games that are on the horizon. You don't take that risk. Even Ten Hag, I don't think, takes that risk. Rashford's an interesting one because, to your point, he might just say, you know what, I might start him just for him to continue form. But again, considering he's been so important for us, if something were to happen to him in this game, you would rule it so much. You'd be like, oh my goodness, with City and Arsenal on the horizon, you'd be like, no, that's just not the right move. So I think Garnacho will start. And look, maybe it is Alanga up front. Maybe that's the big talking point before the game, going, Alanga starting up front. We really need a striker. Maybe this time tomorrow, we're talking about Weghorst basically being done. Anything's possible, certainly. But games like this go to show why we need a striker, because we're already going, can Alanga do it? Martial, definitely not, even though he's fit. We don't want him anywhere near the game. That's why we need the backup. And if you were to say, about Weghorst would start, you go, see what happens then. It could be a good game for him. So that's the important thing, certainly, for him there. Just before we wrap things up then, prediction. You've been very much positive of your predictions recently. You've been pretty close with a few of them as well, actually. So what are you saying tomorrow at Old Trafford?
Hopefully an early goal for sure, and a 3-1 or 4-1. I think there'll be a lot of goals. I think it'll still be very potent in front of goal still. Lots of chances. These days we're creating chances, Owen, and it's really good to see. So 3 or 4-1.
I'm going to go with, because I've changed as well, I'm going to do predictions too. I think a 3-0 maybe. We've had a few 3-0s recently, particularly at home. I agree. I think early goals important. Look, we know what Charlton are going to do. They're a League One side coming to Old Trafford, to one of the informed sides in the Premier League. They'll get everyone behind the ball. Maybe not even play on the counter-attack, let's be honest. They might just literally everyone behind the ball, play for set pieces, or play for penalties, obviously, because if you get to full time, 0-0 goes straight to pens. So they might try and do that, which is nothing wrong with that. That's the wise thing to do for them. But I think if we get an early goal, then that will settle us down, and then it could be 3 or 4, something like that. So I'm going to go 3-0. And hopefully we move on to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. We progress further in a cup competition. Oh, what a season this could be. This could be. We're not there yet, though. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let us know your thoughts, your predictions in the comment section below. Do you think United will be advanced into the Carabao Cup semi-finals? Of course, we've got a full day of match day content tomorrow. We've got road trip, we've got transfer view, we've got match view of myself and KG, we've got all of the fan views as well. So it's a jam-packed day of content here at United View. So be sure to subscribe. You won't miss a single thing. We're out of it. Have a good one. Peace.